Hi, I'm Aeon. This is a video. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to more Geometry Dash. It's that time of the year again. Annually, at this point, I hit a period in time where a lot of new people are coming to the channel, and I get asked, hey, Aeon, how do you get good at Geometry Dash? So today, I will take a look through what I believe is the best tips and tricks for improvement with Geometry Dash. And while this might seem a little bit redundant, since I've already made this video once, and it's just a rehash of an idea that a lot of other people do, I do think I have a lot of things that I can bring to the table that not a lot of other people have actually brought forth and talked about. So I would like to preface before starting that I do believe I've gotten more knowledge, by the way, since the last time I did this, and I think my articulation in general have gotten better. So making this video is more of a version 2 than it is of a rehash of the old video, and this video does cover a lot more intricate details about improvement rather than just specific levels that you should beat to improve at the game. So without further ado, let's just hop into it and start from the very beginning. Under the assumption that you have not beaten your first demon yet, you have not beaten all the main levels because ToE2, Club Step, Deadlocked, and to some extent Electrodynamics are simply just too hard for you. My best advice, and this goes for anyone, you could have beaten a lot of demons and this should still apply to you. Go into the editor and learn the intricacies of the game as a whole. You go into the editor, put down some basic orbs, gravity portals, slopes, structures, and just learn how each individual game mode works and how it plays. The physics in this game are very, very weird, very wonky. So my best advice is just to learn it, feel comfortable with it, get comfortable with how it works, especially with ship, as ship is vastly different from any other game mode. It is very reliant on momentum, especially. Get familiar with how it works with slopes, how it works with bonking, so on and so forth. Just get comfortable with the game mechanics and how the game flows. That way you can just fully understand and grasp everything that you're doing and not just click and try and learn the click patterns for specific levels. Get familiar with stuff like buffer clicks, which is just clicking before the orb and holding, or just a platform, so that you execute your input on the first possible frame. So on and so forth. Just how cubes jump from slopes is very different from how he jumps from the ground. Get familiar with it, work on that, and become comfortable with the game mechanics. Everyone should do this. Even if you've beaten insane demons, you might not know fully how everything works in this game. Try it out, see how it feels, and just get fully comfortable with it. Understanding the game and how the game mechanics work is the first yet most important step if you want to become an extreme demon level player and want to get good in general. Keep that in mind. The next step is diversify, and what I mean by diversifying is avoiding sticking to one particular type of level. A trap I see a lot of people fall into, especially once you start getting into higher end difficulty, is only doing one specific type of level, whether that's just a 9 circles level, XXL levels, or short levels that are no longer than a minute 5 seconds, so barely long levels, right? While it's not inherently a bad thing to stick to what you're comfortable with, it will inevitably make you a less all-around good player, and the reason for this is that you just get really good at one game mode. A very common one to do this with is 9 circles levels, and you will go from problematic as your first demon to fear me as your first medium demon, then 9 circles as your first hard demon, and then through the natural progression of how you've played the game, you're gonna end up doing poltergeist as your first insane demon. While you still beat difficult levels, which you should definitely be proud of, they're hard levels, they're really, really difficult things to complete, you are trapping yourself within a bubble, making your skill set wildly uneven. And the thing that happens with this is that you become what we in the top layer community call a wave 1 trick, and often those people's demon list profiles, the wave 1 tricks, look something along the lines of demons completed, Sonic Wave Rebirth, Bausha Vortex, and most likely their hardest demon is Arctic Lights. Nothing else. That's all they've completed. Very impressive levels to complete, don't get me wrong. However, they're really good at wave, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're very good at other things. And what you do is just limit your own capabilities, and you don't reach your fullest potential as a player. You can always get out of this loop, don't get me wrong. You can very easily get out of the loop of being a wave 1 trick or a ship 1 trick, for instance, by just simply pushing yourself. But once you are stuck in a singular skill set bubble, it is very difficult through just raw sheer brute force to get out of it. And the reason why is because if your hardest is Arctic Lights and you're a wave 1 trick, going back 100 spots on the demons list to beat something along the lines of Occult Outcry, which is not a wave level whatsoever, and you struggle with it, you're gonna be oh, I'm annoyed, I can't do this, I'm not able to do this, even though you're very clearly capable of beating harder stuff. It's because your skill set is just not well enough rounded to go for something that is 129 on the list when your hardest is within the top 40, right? And this can be very demotivating. So rounding your skill set early on is very important, and diversifying the levels that you actually go for is an important thing to work on. The way I do it, and my methodology for choosing a level I just want to do is just, do I like it? If I like it, regardless of how it aligns with my current skill set at the time, I often just go for it. And I often prioritize going for levels outside of my skill set before going for the stuff that I normally would be comfortable with, in a calculated effort to even out my skill set as much as I possibly can. Take Bausha Vortex, for instance. I beat Bausha Vortex as my second hardest, and I deliberately did it at the point when I did it because I needed to get better at wave because I had just recently beaten Stalemate Redux and I really struggled with the first wave, and it was a massive roadblock for me, making me take a really long time to beat it. And if I wanted to beat more levels around Stalemate Redux difficulty or even higher, I needed to improve with wave because I was very capable of doing all the other parts in Stalemate Redux. They didn't really pose much of a challenge whatsoever, but wave was really hard for me, so I couldn't really move up further with the list until I got better at wave. Therefore, I pushed myself to do Basher Vortex as my second hardest. I just did this because I didn't want to be stuck in a loop of I can do it when I get better. So I just did Basher Vortex, pushed myself to my limit of beating a level that was arguably way out of my skill range for the time, even though I had beaten a harder level. And while I could have waited a little bit, it did definitely make me better, because I was comfortable beating other levels around Basher Vortex difficulty. However, wave around that difficulty proved to be a major hurdle for me. The best thing for me to do was just actively seek out a level, heavily leaning towards wave as its main game mode, and beat that level, which happened to be Basher Vortex. It improved my wave skill tremendously as a result, sped up the process of becoming a better player overall, because with my now improved wave skill, I could go for much harder levels that, while I was good enough for the majority of that gameplay previously, I wasn't capable of beating it because of wave parts holding me back, most notably Yatagarasu. One of the main things holding me back from doing Yatagarasu much earlier than I did was the fact that I could not do J-Source part, which was at like 9%, and I could not for the life of me do the wave in Michigan's part. Those things were holding me back, so I did Basher Vortex in a complete effort to round out my skill set. The reason why my wave was so bad was because I just never gone for wave levels because I just didn't think I was good enough for it. Pushing yourself and diversifying yourself to round out your skill set is extremely important, and that just comes from you acknowledging the fact that you have your own shortcomings in your gameplay. A good way to tackle levels that you really need to work on is self-awareness, and self-awareness is a very positive thing for everyone to have, and recognizing that you need to work on something is not you being self-destructive, but you realizing that you're not perfect and can always improve at the game. When I say I'm bad at wave, for instance, I'm not really self-deprecating. Like, it can be taken that way, but it's not really. I'm strictly talking from a perspective of relativity, comparing my waving ability to my other game modes like ship or timing. I know that I need to improve at wave to even out my skill set, therefore I deliberately choose levels that are on the wave heavy side, especially as of late after I did Yada. Levels like Berserk, Timor, Sakup, and Hell in 10th Circle, massive hurdles for me. I struggled with them a ton, but they improved my wave skill a lot, making me able to go further up and beat harder levels with hard wave parts, such as Rust, which had a wave part that I never thought I would be able to do, and was the main reason why I actually never wanted to go for Rust when I initially got to it, when I got my preview copy in January of 2021, because I didn't think that I was going to be good enough for it. Pushing your own skill and diversifying to round out your skill set, really important. Now, the next thing is kind of, I feel like it's very redundant to say because it should be common sense, but be patient. Being patient, but be realistic at the same time. Being patient is important. It's important in every aspect of life. You can't expect to beat a level within just a day of starting it, and you can't expect to just be done with something immediately as to starting in real life either. However, there is an element of realism in the game as well. My philosophy is as follows, that if I start a level and can't make a run past 50% within a week of playing the level, it's really not worth my time spending that much time playing the level, and I should rather just beat other levels first and return to it once I get better, that I can knock it out faster while continuously progressing and becoming better. If you're spending weeks on a level without making any okay progress, you might just need more time to improve, and that's entirely fine. That's just you being realistic with yourself, acknowledging the fact that you're just not good enough yet, and coming back to it at a later point. People hold this like really weird notion that you must persevere with a level even if you can barely make any progress with it. Spending a month and only getting like 26% once on Bloodbath, for instance, you obviously will be able to beat it eventually. Anyone can beat it if they put in enough time and enough attempts with it. However, is it really worth spending a full year beating that one level when you can spend like 10 months beating other easier insane demons and easier extreme demons and just grow your skill overall and then beat Bloodbath like in a month or two later? You've spent the same amount of time on the level. You still beat it within that year that you would have beaten it in otherwise. However, instead of beating just Bloodbath, you beat like 15, 20 other levels as well. Over time, you will be growing enough as a player to where it's actually worthwhile, and you won't rot away your life just playing the same level for a full year. I usually set myself a 1 week 50% standard because I have a lot of time to play. Jump to Dash is my job. I play the game a lot. So for me, 50% within a week is like reasonable. However, for you, it might just be 25% in a week. If you can get 25% in a week or 20% in a week, perfectly fine. If you think that's good enough progress for you to want to keep going, go for it. It all depends on the individual. I recommend just stepping back from it and coming back to it later, even though you end up taking as long, just for a couple of reasons. And hear me out. First and foremost, you get to enjoy the game more. Beating more levels, playing a diversity of levels, and just having overall more fun. I don't think that needs any explanation. I feel like that's just very straightforward and just makes a lot of sense. And two, you improve a lot by just beating more levels. Beating a level improves you significantly more than getting 80% on the same level. A completion is vastly vastly different from making progress, so completing a multitude of different levels improves you significantly compared to just grinding out one level. It will make you learn faster overall because you become accustomed to learning different types of gameplay, and it overall increases your general consistency. Playing Bloodbath for a year will make you really good at Bloodbath, but it won't make you good at another level such as Cataclysm. Beating Cataclysm and Bloodbath will make you overall better because you've beaten more levels. I always recommend beating many levels instead of dedicating your time to one really hard one, and I think that just boils down to consistency. Consistency is important. That's why people like Lukewalizer consistently fluke everything, because he's literally beaten like 200 really hard levels, always tries to beat more. He doesn't go for the hardest, but he goes for a lot of really hard stuff and then just builds himself up. So when he does go for the hardest stuff, he beats it really, really quickly. And lastly, a final thing I wish to cover in all of this, it's just your mental game. Do not compare your own progress to other people. It will do you nothing good and most likely will just make you feel bad. If I were to compare myself to other people, such as like Space, Wolves, Crisis, I would feel terrible. I'm not improving at that pace. I'm not that good at the game relative to them, even though they've played for way less than me. Not everyone can be a Space UK, a Wolves, or a Crisis. Improving at your own pace and having fun with the game is the most important part. While the game is competitive, with the demons list and all that stuff, don't feel like you have to be better than everyone else. Focus on your own improvement, be patient, and most importantly, just have fun with the game. Nobody's forcing you to beat a hard level. If you want to force yourself just to be the best and you're not having fun, you're just wasting your time. Have fun with the game. Play the games that you want and just try your best. If you want to force yourself just to be the best and you're not having fun, you're just wasting your time. If you have fun, you just improve faster because time goes faster. You know, basic stuff. I hope I covered some stuff that you might not have thought about. These are things that I've thought about for a really long time because I keep getting asked about how to improve, and I think I did okay. Leave a thumbs up if you thought so, and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for making my day better. Hope my yours a little bit better too. Eat your greens, stay healthy, stay hydrated. I'll see you guys later. Peace out, everyone.